Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Real Housewives of Moto. We are back with part 2 with the Monica Ramsey. Monica, thank you so much for joining us for part 2. We just ran out of time, didn't we?
We sure did.
We are a little bit of a yapping duo, so I knew we were going to go long, but I just want to jump back into things because I left with literally like a list of questions for an OG Moto mom. So we're gonna start with kiddos. So you guys, we were just talking off air. You guys were one of the first people to like take your kiddos to the race, do the motorhome life. Like, tell me how old your kids are. Tell me what all that looked like, and just like, how the hell did you do it all? Like, I'm just like, that's so much.
I asked myself that question now that I'm older and I'm more tired. And when we travel to the races and I see people with kids, I look at Nathan and I'm like, how did we do that?
Mm-mm.
Our kids are 25. Tatum will be 26 this summer, which is crazy. And Tyson's 23. So I don't know if I had said previously, but we got pregnant pretty quick after we got married. And so one kid, easy. And I was very strict with schedules, feeding schedules. I never just free fed. I didn't breastfeed really. Had issues. I didn't have the internet or friends. I was one of the first friends, nobody to really mentor me. So I gave up pretty easy, which bums me out. But anyway, so I was just very strict on all that because I knew that we needed to sleep. Nathan needed to sleep. It was in the off season. So it gave us time to get her on a schedule before the season started. But he never, like when he was training as far as in the fall, he always was, in the bed. We never slept separate. He would wake up every time, even when I was breastfeeding. He would always help. He would rub my back. Like he just was not one of those people that's like, we never did shifts. I mean, I feel like I would get up and do the things or he would get her. But anyway, we were a great team. She was such a good traveler. She's was an easy baby, but I really do believe structure and schedule. And I did the Cry It Out method. I did Baby Wise book. That was kind of the only book we had back then. And by the time we started going to the races, I need to think because Nathan, I believe at that time was West Coast again and maybe Yamaha. And we never did separate hotel rooms. We didn't have a motorhome. So we would just have a pack and play that the hotel would provide. And we'd put her down at her time. I would adjust her feedings maybe by an hour to kind of you got to remember time difference, right? So you're in the West Coast. You go to the East. Now that's 3-hour time difference.
Ooh, no thanks.
What I would do throughout the day on the plane was fool with her feedings to get her by the time at night, it was within an hour or two. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then I remember like as she got older and would like pull up on things, we would be laying on her bed and we'd put her pack and play at the end and then she'd pop up like this and look at us and then we'd be like, pretend like you're asleep.
Yes. Don't make eye contact.
I didn't co-sleep. So she just went to sleep. She was awesome. Like we never had an issue.
She got the memo.
And then Tyson came along and that's a whole nother game. Like,
oh my gosh.
All these moto moms with like 2 or 3 kids is crazy, especially if they don't have a motorhome to go to. And the big benefit for me with the motorhome when we finally got it and hired a driver was the fact that he could have everything we needed in that motorhome before we got there. So I would just give my list during the week. I need more formula, diapers. We packed it on the West Coast before we'd leave with all their, little mini swing, a little mini high chair, toys, blah, blah, blah. And that was a game changer because with Tatum, I would take a carry-on suitcase before Tyson and have all her baby food in it and all her formula. So her carry-on was strictly food for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Which in bottles and yeah, it's crazy. So the motorhome helps because we would stay at the tracks, even Supercrosses. We never got calls, so we would stay in the parking lot and they would just go to sleep, do their thing. We had a place to go back, eat our food. I don't know. I would be in my pajamas cooking breakfast while Nathan goes out to practice. And I was never one of those wives that needed to be there to watch qualifying and practice.
Mm-hmm.
I was too busy taking care of
kids.
And then before I had kids, all of us wives would go shopping. Like we'd be in Dallas and we wouldn't be there at all during the day. We'd show up an hour before the race. So it's different. the culture is now, but we were just like trying to live our best lives.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a challenge, but I wanted us to be together and we would rotate. Like I take one kid one weekend. I think Paige does that too.
Mhm.
Switch off, and then my mom would watch, and then I wouldn't go, and then I'd go with both. We kind of
Mhm.
picked and choose. So,
Yeah. Who all had kids at that point? Like, you guys were one of the first, but, like, where are the timelines of
so
Chad and Ellie and all that?
it was the Wyndhams. I know a long time ago I posted a photo on our podcast, and it was like us at a race, and it was like Dottie with their firstborn, and I had both kids at the time. And I think, Ezra Lusk I know me, Ezra Lusk, wife Jen, and Ebby Ferry, Timmy Ferry's wife, we had a baby shower together at an outdoor race.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Sharon Richards, who's been around forever, she and I forget who else threw us, like a baby shower. So they all had kids around the same time I had my second.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to think, I might be forgetting. I mean, LaRocco had kids towards the end of his career.
Mhm.
Towards the beginning of Nathan. So there was a little crossover at a
Mhm.
time, but, I don't think I mean, unless you can think of, I think
No.
pretty much it, and
Like, you're
now it
probably the
seems
first.
like you're the odd man out if you don't have one because
I
there's
there's
so
everyone.
and I don't know if, like, all of us started paving the way for
Oh,
that
absolutely.
because, girls were always so, "Don't have a girlfriend." Well,
Mhm.
not Nathan's parents. They were
Mhm.
super, super awesome, and his mom couldn't wait to, like, hand off the books to me and, all the things. But
Mhm.
that's the culture. I mean, that was what I dealt with Mitch Payton when I first started dating Nathan. Didn't like him.
Mhm.
He didn't want
Mhm.
semi. And then Nathan finally told him, "Look, she's under the semi." Like,
Mhm.
he stood up for me. And then it was funny is because then a year later, once we got married and funny fact is that Nathan was gonna race Bercy and Mitch fronted him the money for my engagement ring because
Oh,
because he was gonna get paid for his race in Bercy.
I love
And
that.
isn't that funny?
Oh,
So,
that's so cute.
he ended up liking me, and now we're great friends, and he apologized to me,
You apologized. I love that.
99. Of course, Nathan started winning, right? So then
Mhm.
he but
Well, he started winning because of you. I mean, like, let's call a spade, but,
what
the
I love is,
ROI was
like,
good.
when me and Nathan got together, not that I have to prove this to anybody, but he barely made money. He was with Pro Circuit. They're known to not pay a lot. We built this together.
Yeah.
So, I know
I love
people want to
that.
say that with women. Oh, they're dating him because of this, or they're in the limelight, or they have money. Nathan
Mhm.
people didn't really know who he was yet. So I got to be along for that ride with him as he started, you know, his
Yeah.
trajectory up. And, so it was cool. But
Yeah.
anyway, the whole women thing was taboo.
Mhm.
And it's slowly and then you had, like, Chad and Ellie came over, and you saw how much a woman can support their man and how, what a pivotal role they play
Mhm.
in the success. So, I think that dynamic, changed. Nathan never was like, "A girl's gonna mess me up." He's like, "A good woman's gonna make me better." So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of seen that shift really, like, with the longevity of the guys now. I mean, even shout out your pod, go listen to the Jill Cairoli episode and her lane. I mean, Tony would not be what Tony is without
Oh, no.
Jill. I mean, the woman makes the man. We know that, but it has taken Moto a hot minute to get on board with that. So, like, I mean, were you seeing that in other camps? Like, how do you think it took, like, what did it take to make that tide turn? Just like
I don't
women
know.
sticking
I
around?
think maybe Ellie,
Yeah.
and Chad, because she was the first girlfriend at the time that I knew that was, like, doing actual like, she never went with us, like, when we would go, like, shopping or she had to be at the track, she had to watch, and I'd kinda go, like, "Am I a bad wife? Do I not care?" But that as you hear if you go on our podcast
Mhm.
story, they were doing it in the trenches in,
Mhm.
Europe and all that. That was her job
Yeah.
in a sense, right? Where
Yeah.
I didn't view that, like, really it was different, I was just didn't know that. I didn't start with Nathan from the get-go, that deep rooted like she did, and she left her family and a different country. I think that's so amazing. I mean, I don't know if I could have done that, but her whole world was him. So she was the first person that I feel, um, put their man as this is my life and kind of changed the direction of how a wife or girlfriend supports their boyfriend or husband in that riding role as
Yeah.
a professional athlete. Getting their drinks. I mean, I would make lunch and stuff for Nathan in the motorhome, but I wasn't cleaning anything. I didn't do anything. He was
Mhm.
very independent. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it also depends on the person, right? The
Yeah.
race. Do they require that? Because some people are more selfish,
Mhm.
and you know, you have to be in individual sports. But she's probably the role model that started that um, for the other women to follow. I think.
Yeah. It probably helped, like,
Don't look at
her
me because I was just there for a good time. No, I'm just kidding.
hey, different strokes for different folks. It probably helped with Ellie, like, Ellie doesn't take shit from anyone, so coupled with that and, like, she was coming from Europe and then Australia, like, it wasn't like, these other California-based wives and girlfriends that it's like, "Oh, okay, they've got a support system, they've got a girlfriend, they've got mom and dad." It's like, Chad and Ellie, that was it, and, Ellie was gonna Ellie was gonna tell you what's what, so, yeah, I think that's really
Yeah,
cool.
she was probably the first one involved in, like, stuff with his testing and
Mhm.
I don't know anything about the bike, I didn't know anything like that. But going back to Jill and, like, Chad and Ellie being in Europe, Europe is a completely different a way of life
For
in the
sure.
racing industry. The way that they embrace the female, is completely different. They are involved in everything,
Mhm.
and it was really interesting to hear her take how she would sit in meetings. I have never one time in my life sat in a contract meeting. The only thing I hear is what is being talked to on speakerphone, right?
Right.
I'm not in meetings. I'm not giving my feedback. Um, Times have changed. If it was now we were doing it, I probably would. But look
Mhm.
at in Ken,
Mhm, it's exactly who I was thinking about.
and he's got somebody that knows the backside of it with
Mhm.
industry and
Yeah.
agency and PR and marketing and, So, yeah, I think, the tables have turned and
Mhm.
I'm here for it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think, like, just we're talking about everybody getting pregnant, everybody having kids, it seems like there's a new baby announcement on Instagram, like, every other week, like, we've seen that it's doable to race well into your 30s and to have kids and to have multiple kids, so I'm excited, I think that a wife and a family and home life and stability, like, I don't see how you could look at that, and if you're healthy, because there are some unhealthy marriages out there.
Mhm.
Let's be real. It provides a base, and if it means that we have longer careers, we have safer careers, like we all benefit from it. So you guys
I
definitely like paved that for
I
us.
wish that everybody could, like, afford to have a motorhome and,
Hmm.
because it really does take the stress off of the mom, the wife
Hmm.
with the kids, and it's just a place to escape from all the craziness in the pits,
Yeah.
I mean, I hardly would go to when we had the times we had our motorhome, I would hardly go over under the tent, maybe just when he got done with the moto or something, but pretty much all our family, all our friends would come to the motorhome. We weren't, like, underneath there. It was just nice. He liked it as a way to get away, and he would take a nap back in the room, and when we were in the motorhome, the kids stayed with us in there too, both kids. We would set up their playpen, and Tatum would be on the bed, and then we had our own bed, and, um, it was never a problem. I think one time I had to go out there and lay with them one time, but
Hmm.
Nathan can sleep through anything,
Oh my
okay?
God, what a
S
blessing.
Yes, it bothers me. I'm
I don't
sorry.
have that gift. I do not at all. Like, I think it's a man thing. Like, just not fair.
But I will
Mm.
say also what started probably a couple years after I had kids is I don't remember how, I don't know if I was a voice in it, but we started getting a mommy room
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
at the, at the races for Supercross and the suites. It's usually on the press box level. It's not like, don't think it's some grand suite like Formula One. No, it's on the press level. It's usually, I mean, it could be a suite. It's a box, something.
Yeah.
And that was like a game changer too during Supercross because it kind of like dimmed the noise a little bit. Like I remember having at Anaheim having Tatum in a stroller, and I would cover the stroller so it'd be dark, and I'd rock her at her bedtime, and there's like the heat races going on, and I'd be in there, just doing this, and she would sleep through it all. And so that was really, really nice. And they still continue that to this day. We have Jake and Christy Veneta, and I tell Christy all the time when I see her, because she has a thread. So she has a text thread. I don't know if you know about it.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
she has all the wives, girlfriends, everybody on a thread. And so right before every
Hold on.
race,
No, we'll skip this. Yeah, thank you so much. Well, we gotta edit this whole thing. Start. Okay,
I'll
let's
start
start
over.
from we have Christy.
Christy. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Okay. Sorry.
So another blessing that I say that these wives have, moms, you don't have to be a wife, but a mom, with their little kids traveling is Christy and Jake Veneta. We had pastors too, same thing. We had Joel and Jeanette Murphy. We got really close to them. We used to host the Bible studies every Wednesday. I don't know if people know we started a Bible study. We first started it with Greg Albertine back in the day when he was
Mhm.
racing. I actually got baptized in his pool when I was pregnant with Tyson.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was really organized and people would come and it was really cool, and it just, it kind of faded off as people started moving different areas and, us with kids.
Mhm.
Now we have Christy and Jake that have been on scene for a while, and she has all the women, whether you're a mom of a racer or a wife, on a thread, and the night before the race will give us the schedule for the events that day. If something changes due to rain, she's constantly updating it, and she'll take pictures when she gets there and say, "This is the rider seating. This is the stairs you go down. If you need to get to down to the podium, this is where I'll
Mhm.
meet you. If you don't
Mm.
have the right pass, because she has an escort pass, I'll escort you. Text me if you need help with the kids." Da 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 da. I
Yeah.
mean, she is like
What a blessing.
on it. She watches the kids at the races, she helps, and I'm always like, "Where were you?"
Mhm.
I mean, just I've seen her how she flies to Florida and babysits a lot of the
Mhm.
the children,
Mhm.
I think,
Mhm.
"Wow, what a blessing
Gosh, that's
she is."
incredible.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that really helps. Anything like that helps, the
Mhm.
support from the industry, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it in the first episode, but like building your tribe, your group of people, and yeah, that sounds like they're a massive part of that at the races. I think that's so cool.
it's
So,
very slow to change, but at least it's going in the right direction.
mhm. Yeah. Well, and I think we've realized just what it takes to stick around. Like we were talking about the stable home life, the stable, happy wife, happy life. And so, whatever we can do to like move that needle to keep guys healthier and around longer, like we need to be open to that. So you guys
Yeah,
are in the thick of raising kiddos, young children. Nate's career is, there is an end to every career, which I think that some writers are better at thinking about it than others. I think that some of them don't want to face the music. What are those conversations like when you can see the end but it's not quite here yet? Like what are you guys talking about finances? What are you talking about career? What are you talking about how emotionally how's it going to feel when Nate retires? Like before you get to retirement, like what do those pre-conversations look like? Cuz I think a lot of women moto moms, moto wags right now that are in the back third of their husband's career are in that spot and I don't think anybody's talking about it. So like
yeah.
let's talk.
Yeah, I've chatted with other, wives in the industry that have been through it now after me, and we've
Mhm.
discussed, and it is one of the hardest transitions that you'll make.
Yeah.
With Nathan's situation, it was kind of out of the blue when when he didn't have a ride.
Mhm.
His last year racing was with San Manuel with
Mhm.
Blair Brooks and, Chad, and then Chad went on. I don't exactly remember where he went from that team,
Mhm.
but we knew they were signing James Stewart, and
Mhm.
so two-man team. And, I mean, I'm gonna be very raw and honest because that's how I am. So they just kept stringing Nathan along all summer.
Mm. Mhm.
Larry kept saying, "No, we got a spot for you. Don't worry. We're working on James. We gotta get this handled, sponsors, blah, blah, blah." And working on it all the way until I think it was maybe in September. No, it's probably beginning of October. They announce it on like a Vital MX type of stuff,
Yeah.
that they had hired Kyle Chisholm instead. I mean,
Mm.
we quickly found out when everybody else found out. I mean,
Ugh.
and then did get some offers, but he's like, "I'm not gonna go race and put my life on the line at my age for a
Mhm.
certain money. It has to be
Yeah.
worth it." If
Yeah.
I was just starting and I was a privateer, yes, I would take anything I could get, but I already had proven myself and kinda towards the end, and, we were not prepared. I mean, we were really good friends with Larry. He
Mhm.
had his team manager on KTM when Nathan rode for them for 3 years, and then he switched over, when he did San Manuel, and, it was I was pissed.
Mhm.
So hurt and mad, and then we're like, "What do we do?" Like,
Yeah.
literally, like, "What do we do?"
Ugh.
Um, obviously, you get older, you go through things in your head. I for I've forgiven Larry. I have a soft spot for him because he is such a great guy. Up until that happened to us, I couldn't have said a bad thing about him, you know?
Mhm.
It really hurt because I just thought that Nathan, he's such the easiest guy to deal with. He would have,
Mhm.
like, straight up, like, "Look, this is the direction, go get a ride. Go
Yeah.
get what you can to prepare for it, take a year, take what you get if it's like a satellite team, and then you have at least a year to do like a farewell tour,
Yeah.
like a retirement, right?" Nothing. And I just never understood. I still don't have those answers
Mhm.
because it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
The reason is it happened.
Mhm.
So I was very bitter,
Mhm.
very bitter.
Mhm.
And it depends on how you leave the industry is how you're gonna view it and how it goes.
Say it again.
Oh, yeah. So for me, I was very, very bitter. And we luckily, Nathan had made good money back then. And we didn't have all these like Club MX teams and heck, all these other spots that you could still make a decent amount of money and kind of ride out your maybe last 2 years. There
Mhm.
wasn't, there was a few, which San Manuel was one of them. So luckily we had bought real estate, we had done things with our money. We did spend a lot of money too, And we had probably a year before that had the talk about like, downsizing, kind of getting ourselves set up to have less expenses because those paychecks stop. I mean, you're
Right.
talking almost 100 grand a month,
Yeah.
okay, in checks. These
Just stop.
vary up and
Yeah.
down, okay, and they're different from 20 years ago. But
Mhm.
you're making a good amount of money, and then I wasn't working, and most of the
Mhm.
time the wives aren't working, right? They're taking care of the kids, and if you want them to go to the races, they can't work, right?
Right.
Because 'Cause you're traveling. So then you get to the point where you're like, "Oh shit, now we gotta dig in our savings."
Yeah.
And then our house we had was, on an acre. It took a lot, and we just were like, "Ah, what do we
Mhm.
do?"
Mhm.
Scrambling, and I think Nathan ended up at that point working with Blake Baggett,
Mhm.
um, but, I mean, that wasn't a career, it was just something to kinda get him out in that coaching world because he had not
Mhm.
coached yet. I think he did some stuff with Andrew Short, he's did some stuff with Justin Brayton,
Mhm.
and then, he was doing, like, some amateur guys. Then in February of so he retired in 2009, but he did do a fill-in ride with JGR.
Mhm.
I forget who got hurt, but he got the call from Jeremy Albrecht,
Mhm.
which we've known Jeremy forever, and
Mhm.
he was like, um, "Yeah, we wanna know if you wanna be our, the fill-in rider for, like, the last 8 rounds or something," and
Mhm.
they were gonna pay him, but I go, "You know what? Do it. It'll be like your hurrah, there's no pressure, you're not racing after this,"
Yep.
and he really liked that team and what it was about, how faith-driven they are, Coy at the time, you know, RIP.
Mhm.
Man, that was hard. So, he went and flew out to North Carolina for 2 weeks and, you know, tested the bike, got to go to the shop, got to go to the NASCAR, did a Bible study, and it was all good, and he just was so happy again.
Oh, yeah.
It was like it was awesome. I felt like that was, like, a God-given thing. It was like, "Here, do your thing."
Mhm.
So I remember you go from expecting so much, and then I remember just him, like, making the main. It was kind of feeling like a kind of like a privateer, wife
Mhm.
feels, but I was just so excited if he, like, did amazing in the heat. I
Yeah.
don't remember if at that point we were in the 1 heat races each, and then the
Mhm.
last I think we were heat 1, heat 2, semi, and then the last chance. But
Mhm.
either way, he made it, and it was so funny because his last race was Vegas, when we still had Vegas,
Mhm.
and he got ninth, and, like, Travis Pastrana was in the 450 at that time and, whatever, and Nathan had already raced against Travis a few years, and, he was, like, passing people, and he made it, like, to ninth, and it was, like, a stacked field, and he was passing all these good people, and it was, like, ninth, and we
Mhm.
were, like, acting like he had podiumed. It was so fun. Everybody was so excited. They're just like,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
um, it was just a good way for him to go out, and I got to see him race one more time because,
Yeah.
you you don't know when the last time is you're gonna see them race, whether it's an injury or you don't have a ride, right?
Mhm.
So for us, it was really cool that they gave us that opportunity to just kind of close that chapter.
Mhm.
Um, I still was bitter, obviously. And
Mhm.
I remember when we had Anaheim's a few years and before Nathan was with KTM, Orange Brigade, that was his first um, job with them before he moved into the Rockstar Husqvarna team manager. But I just remember like I felt so weird in the pits. I didn't have a place to go.
Oh, I bet that was weird.
And that's what like I've had this talk with Ashley Grant too. Like
Mhm.
you feel out of place. You
Mm.
feel like you don't know where to go.
Mhm.
Because you can't go to the team that you left from because you're pissed at them, right?
Mhm.
The way it is now, people are like ambassadors and stuff. That's kind of
Mhm.
how your retirement. And that wasn't really the case. And I just felt like walking around like, I don't know, invisible, like
Yeah.
it it wasn't fun. I
Yeah.
didn't like it. And
Yeah.
then, fast forward and here I am doing a podcast.
You did some healing in between then,
I
but,
really did some healing. You're not only going through the bitterness, now you're going through how do we live our life? And you have to scale back tremendously. And it's really hard to all of a sudden say you're not going to have this lifestyle anymore.
Mhm.
That's why
Mhm.
you need to give yourself at least a couple of years if you know that you are like towards the end, you really need to start acting like you're not getting that money and
Yeah.
start spending less, putting it away, and you really got to prepare because when those checks stop completely, what do you do? So we
Mhm.
were like going through our savings, just trying to live, and then
Yeah.
fortunately we had a great house. We sold it. We got a pretty comparable home, less property. And then yeah, it was just like regular life. Like Nathan
Yeah.
wasn't would coach people, but it was like, okay, he would coach baseball with Tyson and he would do that, but he would still coach the racers on the side. And then it just
Mhm.
slowly evolved into Christy LaCurl saying, hey, I think you'd be great for Orange Brigade as our coach,
Yeah.
right instructor. And then it went into she left and was like, hey, now you're going to be director. And then it was like he did that. And I loved that schedule because it was amateur schedule.
Mhm.
Summer was every Thanksgiving. He wasn't home.
Mhm.
And I think for many years he wasn't home. I don't know if he did that for like 8 years, but like 1 year in 2015 was the only year he wasn't there because our daughter has Crohn's disease and she was in the hospital for like a couple of months and in and out and had a bowel resection. So during that time, Nathan didn't go. But that was really only the downfall. But other than that, he was
Yeah.
around so much.
Yeah.
He would camp for them. And then I had just got my new position at the hospital where I set my own schedule and I only work 3 days a week,
Mhm.
Monday, Tuesday, whatever I wanted. And I
Mhm.
would have weekends off. And Nathan was home a lot. So I was like, and I remind you, I had been working nights um,
Oof.
for 9 years.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so I was going to be on days. Life was going to get good. And then
Mhm.
he says, a week to the date later, hey, so I talked to John Hines and they want me to be the team manager of Rockstar Husqvarna. And I was like, what?
Say what?
Like, I wasn't like ecstatic.
Mhm.
I was really confused. I said,
Mhm.
"Doing this, we're doing this again. Like we're going
Mhm.
in to the full schedule. I was not ready. And I'm like, I just got to where now we can I don't have to work every other weekend
Mhm.
and now you're gonna be gone? Like, it
Mhm.
was really, really hard. But then, like the supportive wife, what am I gonna say? That's
Mhm.
all he knows. Obviously, you wanna move up, right? And remember, Nathan oh, I did leave this out.
Mhm.
Nathan ended up being the team manager for JDR, the
Mhm.
Australian KTM team for a few years, which Malcolm and Savachi were on that. It's
Mhm.
kind of how he was team manager of Malcolm then and then now.
I love that.
And that so that's what it was before Orange Brigade that had come, and that was interesting building a team from scratch because like
Yeah.
Nathan built it. I mean, he had the money from the investors out of Australia, but he got a shop in Marietta. Our kids, all of us were putting parts into the containers and it was really neat and seeing, how much work goes into building a
Yeah.
race team. And then that was also another dark time because I don't know if it was the second year or the third year. I'm really bad at times,
Okay.
okay? Or on dates. I don't have any notes written down. But he basically got a call that they were shutting the doors. It was like in February or
Mm.
March of the
Yeah.
season. So now you have riders, mechanics, truck drivers, and Nathan has to tell them they
Mm.
don't anymore. And
Mm.
that was one of the only times I've seen him cry. And
Ugh.
he doesn't really cry ever.
Bless.
And I remember him standing in our closet in the dark and I was like, "What is going on?" And he was just like, "I have to tell all these people." And what am I gonna do? Here we are again, at
Mhm.
like another hit to the gut, right? So then I was really mad at the industry. But then fast forward, he got the Orange Brigade. He ended up obviously doing the Rockstar Husky, and you know, he's so good at it. And now that I have weekends off, I can go to the races more. He
Mhm.
would like me to go every weekend, which I'm like, no, I cannot travel every
Mhm.
weekend. Now that I'm older, it takes me like 3 days to recover, even just because
I
when I
feel
go,
that.
it's usually to work in the medic rig,
Mhm.
and that's a full day for me.
Mhm.
We're there before the riders and we're there till the end. And so I'm exhausted. The travel and the time difference and the lack of sleep that you get on the
Yeah.
road because especially when you're on the East Coast and then we fly back to the West, you're basically on Saturday mornings getting up at 3 in the morning Cali
Mhm.
time. Then you're working a 15-hour day. You're rushing to get back to try to get some sleep. You get 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, and you're getting up at 1 AM in California
Mhm.
time. You fly, you get back, you drive an hour from the airport, and then your Sunday's pretty much done. You're just
Yeah.
recovering and then doing laundry, and then I work on Mondays, and he does
Mhm.
too, and then do it all again, and I don't think it's sustainable. I don't know how people like Roger DeCoster and them have done it
I don't either.
this long. I mean, he doesn't go to the races much anymore, but still, even in your 70s, I don't know how, and, um, it's a lot. I worry about that for Nathan.
Yeah.
Worry about sleep because I know so much about the body, me,
Mhm.
nurse and what that does on the body. Like I said, during the week, he has no problem, sleeping, but I just worry about that constant go, go, go.
Yeah.
It's a really demanding schedule. So that's we try to do what we can as a couple, and thankfully, I get to do the, mobile medic rig, but
Mhm.
I think I don't want him to do it forever,
Mhm.
I don't I wanna, the older you get like, we actually did retirement planning yesterday,
Yeah.
and just kinda like when I'm gonna retire from my job and things like that, and I'm just like, I want to live my last bit on earth stress-free. I wanna travel. I have, like, a European vacation that I wanna do once that time comes. I wanna go to Japan. Like, I have all these things. I wanna go see my kids. Our daughter's in New York. Who know I mean, hopefully I have grandkids by then.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't want to be on the schedule
Yeah.
forever. And, I hope that eventually, you know, down the road that will happen for him. But
Yeah.
then he's like, "What am I gonna do?" Like, that's all I know.
Yeah.
Not that financially, what am I gonna do, but, like, I think, like, as long as you keep working, your brain's constantly going, so you stay
Mhm.
young. You
Yeah.
stay cognitively in tune, right?
Mhm.
Um, so who knows? Who knows what that'll happen in the future? I kinda went off track as
No,
my
you're
ADD
good.
brain
You're good.
does.
Yeah.
because we're talking about the transition. So, I mean, I think I pretty much hit on it. It's just, I think for me, it was easy dealing with Nathan transitioning. I had my internal things and I'm the bookkeeper, I'm the finance person. So I had that stress of seeing the bills come in, you know,
Mhm.
and like, what's the smartest thing to do? And I think that if your husband is sole identity being, I'm a racer, this is my
Mhm.
number, then that's a bigger problem. With
Yeah.
Nathan, never. I mean, he's the most humble person. I think one of the most humble people in the industry. He wasn't living to be Nathan Ramsey for 10 more years.
Mhm.
He doesn't even really do social media. Nathan,
Mhm.
you could do stuff with your social media. Let me run it. He's like, I don't have time for that. I'm not reposting things. That seems so conceited. Like he doesn't care,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people struggle
Mhm.
relationship is if
Mhm.
their sole identity is I am a racer.
Mhm.
I was a champion. There's more to you. And Nathan always was great at saying, there's m there's Nathan Ramsey on the track, and once I leave, I'm the husband and the father to Tatum and Tyson.
Yeah.
So, I think I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that identity crisis, I don't believe it was that hard. I mean, I don't know,
Mhm.
know, Nathan would have to answer that, but
Mhm.
I don't remember it being an issue between us. But I
Yeah.
do see that as people retire, they just hang on to any little thread they can,
Mhm.
you know, and,
Yeah.
they do races, and they'll do a lot of races after, and Nathan did Loretta's years ago only because it was a bet that he made with Chrissy the Curl.
That's awesome.
It was fun for him to do it, but he was like, I'm not ever doing that again."
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't even ride right now.
Really?
He
Oh my
doesn't
god.
ever I mean, when's he gonna ride?
I was gonna say, when would he find the time? But
And the last thing he wants to do is go to a track.
yeah,
And then
true.
our son started riding again, older, but Nathan can't even go with him,
Yeah.
it's and you know me, I'm like, "You are not going to that track. If you're up, you're being with me." So,
I swear if you get hurt, I will kill you.
right.
That's what I always told my
Yeah.
husband.
I think that that's definitely not talked about. It's a scary I personally, every time somebody's towards the end and then, like, they stop racing, I worry about it for them because
Yeah.
I know what, they're going through,
Yeah.
and, traveling all the time, having something to look forward to,
Yeah.
and then it stops. So you gotta be comfortable with your home life.
Mhm.
If you have kids, you're busy with their extracurricular activities, and
Mhm.
our kids were very, very involved in that.
Yeah.
So that kinda helped, feed
Yeah.
our weekends and stuff.
Mhm.
So
I
I hope
wonder, like
I gave you
no.
a little glimpse into what that's like, but
No, that's perfect. I'm thinking about the current writers and wives that we don't know a whole lot about. So I'm thinking about like Jessica Tomac. We don't know a whole lot about Eli and Jessica because they're
pretty private.
private.
Mhm.
And Eli's had some hard hits. We're recording this on the backside of Paula where Eli was on the side of the track for 13 minutes. Like what would you say to Jessica as she's looking at Eli, who's like a titan of this sport, like undisputed Mount Rushmore? We're not talking about mid-grade
Right, right.
rider. Like what conversations do you have with someone like that where you're like, you need to think about this, and what are you thinking about this? Like, walk me through. Like, if you had to sit down on the other side of the table from Jessica Tomac right now, like, what does that conversation look like?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. You kinda
Mm,
I don't know her.
mhm.
Um,
Even better. We'll riff.
yeah, no, I mean, I know of her. I've
Yeah.
maybe met her one time. Um, I guess more so do you have something for yourself?
Mhm.
Which she seems to with,
Mhm.
like, farm stuff and her
Mhm.
cows, and she does the horses, and so she's pretty locked in on that, and then she has her children, but I
Mhm.
guess, I'm sure they're definitely set financially. Uh,
Mhm.
I think for me, it's just like, what do you have for yourself?
Mhm.
Your time now.
Yeah.
It was their time, and that's
Yeah.
how I told Nathan. When I went back to school, I'm like, "It's my time.
Mhm.
So now your time is gonna be dealing with the kids, taking them all these places, like, I'm going after my career now. I
Mhm.
supported you during yours, and I never regretted doing that, but now the focus is gonna be on my career because in the end, it's gonna be beneficial to the whole family.
Yeah.
So the tables turned and, you know, that's kinda what it is. So I don't know, like, as far as, like, are you asking, like, for when he's done or, like, do you have the conversation, do you ride again? Do you come back next year?
Yeah, I guess just kind of like if you were there right now with them being like,
I
"Okay,
mean,
you
he's
got
definitely
options."
had a lot of hard hits this year,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So, I guess you just have that conversation together and
Mhm.
say you weigh the pros and the cons. If somebody feels so strongly and they just can't hang it up, then you have to support them. I mean, if they're
Yeah.
just like if they believe they still have it, which Eli has shown that, before he had all his hard hits at the beginning of the season, and you have that conversation and you're like, "Look, I still want it. I'm still hungry. I don't think you should ride for the paycheck and
Mhm.
people get hurt
Bingo.
if you
Mhm.
ride for the paycheck, right?
Mhm.
I mean, obviously you gotta live, right?
Right.
And how really hard to turn down, but that was what Nathan didn't wanna just ride for just to have some money coming in.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it. The risks were far greater because he had a family and he was older and he had kind of, done what he's was able to do in the industry. He knew.
Yeah.
He knew
Yeah.
he knew, so I think it's more like having that conversation, like, do you feel because I feel like somebody like Eli too, it's hard for them to ever be middle ground because
Mhm.
all they know is winning and being one of the top dogs.
Yeah.
So, like, Nathan wasn't like that. He was, in the middle. Like, he's won a 450 race, he's won a championship, he's podium. But to be always in that expectation of yourself, are you able to meet that expectation? If you
Mhm.
really feel you can, then I'm here for it and we can do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Don't just keep going for the paycheck.
Yeah.
Be an ambassador, do something else. You know what I mean? So there is
Mhm.
a lot of different options, but there's also not a lot of options in the
Mhm.
industry. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of like, graduate into this field and we're going to open up this marketing spot for you. And
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
you, so yeah, I guess I would just say they'd have to have that conversation. Are you writing for the paycheck? Are you writing because you love it and you feel like you'll be satisfied where you end at the season if it's
Mhm.
not? Because
Yeah.
I don't know. I can imagine the expectations and that's all you expect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you okay with being a 5th to 10th place guy? And I
Yeah.
don't Eli's okay with that.
No. No, I don't
I
think so.
don't know him personally, but just from being, the whole industry and
Yeah.
he's a beast mode. So,
He is a beast, but I don't know how many more times we're gonna see beast mode, which makes me sad. But anyhow, we won't go there. It's funny as you were saying that, like, I think that one thing I have learned not growing up in moto, not having a husband who raced professionally, just purely through Real Housewives, um, this is gonna be a duh, like, how little money there is in the sport, and I'll caveat this with because it is so heavy at the top. So
mhm,
that drop off from those top guys is so stark, and I saw this in that, like, it is so important to keep healthy relationships because you will always be interconnected in the sport. You're never going to get far enough away that you're rich enough or you're safe enough or you're healthy enough or you're fast enough to be far enough away from a relationship because it literally feels like, with the drama or whatever, if you say something bad and you burn that bridge and someone runs with it, like you're taking money from that person. You're taking food off the table of their kids because, yeah, we're not a NASCAR or an F1 or whatever. And so the sport being so small and not, being as big as like F1, like I said, the money component is huge. So while yes, we want to be like, don't ride for the paycheck, like you have to be real that it's not always going to be there and you've got to plan for the future. And I just like, as someone who's so type A and like I am a planner and all that,
me
like
too.
I don't
I
know that
like
I can.
stability.
Yeah, that'd be really, really hard.
It is. It is hard. Yeah, you when you mentioned about, like, burning bridges and relationships,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Let's talk about that.
that's one thing, that Nathan was really good at.
Mm.
He left every team in a good position with good relationships. It was never, um, no ill will. It was always, cordial. He was respectful, and, he wanted to be able to go back under that semi the next year and say hi to the guys and never feel weird. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Nathan podiumed for every manufacturer factory. He was
That's
with
so cool.
Suzuki when Roger DeCoster, his first 125 factory ride, and he podiumed. And then he was pro circuit. Obviously, he did his thing there. Then he went to Yamaha, and he was the first one to really like debut the four strokes and stuff. And his agent had always said that like this is where this is going, you know. So he
Mhm.
did that with Yamaha. He won races. He went to Honda and um, debuted the 250F and the 450F, and won on the 450F and the 250F, and then Yamaha with Sam and Will. So, and he was Yamaha of Troy, the factory, you know. So we've been all over.
All the
And we
colors.
have relationships with everybody. It's fun when I see the Honda guys still, you know, it's just cool. Like, I was talking to Mitch Payton at Salt Lake. I went in by Pro Circuit after the end of the race, and we talked for a while, and
Yeah.
you never know, especially these people that have kids that are coming into it now, right? So, the generation of the dads, and then now you have their kids, so it's
Mhm.
will never forget how you treat them,
Yeah. That's huge.
especially if it's in a bad way, right?
Yeah.
So, that can affect your kid's future.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
deal
absolutely.
the dad? As you know, the dads are a lot to deal with.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, yes.
I mean, I know that just from being immersed in it.
Mhm.
So, it's like, you don't wanna burn any bridges because, like you said, it comes right back around. That person that you talk shit to could now be the ones signing your checks or making decisions on what you're
Yep.
gonna
Yeah.
s That's what we always told our kids when they, you know, with their little jobs, always say thank you, give your 2-week notice, and don't talk bad. Uh
Mhm.
You know, kind of thing. I don't
Yeah.
know how it works with everybody. I mean, in the industry, I think most people have a pretty good relationship. I know there's the few where there's some pretty bad blood,
Mhm.
you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's karma, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So,
Being a good human will take you a long way in life, but it'll take you even further in moto. And coming from a good family, you know, like you kinda I chuckled at the dad comment because I've heard there are literal dad clauses in contracts these days that are like, here's where your dad ends being, you know, your mini moto dad, and here's where your pro contract starts. And it's wild that that's come out of negative situations. I mean, the factories are having to respond to over involved parents. And I mean, like, it just breaks my heart. But yeah, coming from a solid family, having a solid marriage in any, you know, top level athlete, like, it's invaluable. And so we are not we are not exempt from that in moto at all. It is 10 times the family sport that I think stick and ball sports are, but obviously I'm biased. So
well, and I
that's
think
the
that's
biggie.
why the dads or the moms, but mainly the dads,
Mhm.
ones working on the bike when they were younger, right? I
Right.
think because I've had this conversation with Nathan, I'm like, I don't bring my parents to work with me.
Mhm.
Not involved when I do any decision making. I'm an
Yeah.
adult. So why are these parents so involved? And he's like, you have to remember they've been with them this whole time. Mechanic. They're, you know, obviously they get coaches if the family can afford it, but they have been their sole person. That's the way it was. So all of a sudden it's like, we don't need you. And a lot of the times it's the racer wanting the parent there.
Right.
I mean, look at Malcolm and Big James.
Mhm.
Um, he's always there. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be the same if my kid was a professional athlete.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
they say, "I want you there," I'm gonna do everything I can to be there every weekend.
Yeah.
Um, the difference is James is really cool. You know what I mean? He
Mhm.
lets them do their thing. He's just awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about these up and coming factory guys and their dads being really overbearing. I mean, I know people hear stories and it's like just being so respectful to the team.
Yep.
And I feel like as a parent, if you're disrespecting people in front of your kid or your adult child,
Mhm.
that's what you've been doing that their whole life. And that's
Yeah.
all you've seen. You probably talked to a spouse like that.
Mhm.
So they just copycat and then they're dicks to the team manager and the team. And
Yep.
just, I don't get it. I always am like, Nathan, why don't they just stop the parent from coming in? They're an adult. The contract's not with them, it's with the
Mhm.
race. He's like, you can't because they're usually a team package, right?
Gosh, that's so
I don't
hard.
understand that concept, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's, like, momagers and, my daughter's in, New York, and she's always like, "You're gonna be my momager." But to really, like, cause havoc,
Yeah.
doesn't need to be havoc. I think it just puts a weird vibe in the s semi for the
Mhm.
weekend. Um, so yeah, that's definitely, an interesting
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
Then, if you're a dick and then, like I said, 20 years later, here comes your kid,
Mhm.
you probably are teaching them the same exact thing.
Yep.
We're gonna be little minions of you.
Mhm. Yeah, and everybody's gonna remember because
And
the
everyone's
sport is so
memory
small.
very long,
Yeah.
very long. So
Whew, that's a hard one. Oh my gosh.
mhm,
Oh,
mhm. I mean, and
well
Nathan, when he was the amateur, manager or director, you're dealing with young till right before they turn pro. And
mhm,
I hear every phone call. And when we're driving, I mean, his phone rings off the chain. It's like not it's a 24/7 job, and that's the other thing. When you're in these roles as managers, it's a 24/7 job. And, they're calling and the parents calling. I'll get off the phone and be like, "What the hell?"
mhm, mhm.
And it's a lot.
Yeah,
You're not just dealing with the racer, you're dealing with their families, their
yeah,
coach, their agent, their this, their that, and, I don't know if it's for everybody. And then, like, in speaking to not having enough money in the industry, I think we kinda got off track, but there's not a lot of jobs for these guys to filter into for
yeah,
advertising,
yeah,
I mean, there's
mhm,
only so many team manager roles, and do you really wanna have to be on that circuit? Like, the race industry, and they have World Supercross now, and they have it's just too much. It's
yeah,
too much, and I did see that, like, Jet and Hunter aren't doing, any
in the
overseas.
off season.
I
Yeah,
think that's awesome, them giving a break to their team.
mhm,
Luckily, we haven't had that issue yet with Nathan where, like, he has racers doing all these extra just designations with
mhm,
RJ, but that's a lot to expect your team to continuously go
mhm.
all those rounds,
Yeah,
especially, like, overseas, the
yeah,
travel.
it's so much.
I don't know. I give props to mechanics' wives and significant others because
Mhm,
they are there the day before we get there. They have to stay after to build the bike, and then they're in between. I mean, I personally don't know if I could handle that. I
I
mean, that's
couldn't. I know I
way
couldn't. No. I mean, we were talking before we press record. There's a certain team right now that I mean, everybody knows this, but, like, they cut their mechanics pay when their rider goes down. So,
uh-huh,
like, can you
uh-huh.
imagine being, like, a wife of a mechanic at home and seeing, like, your husband's rider go down and just be like, "Cool, there goes my paycheck." Like, nothing to do with you. I mean, unless I guess it blew up, then you'd feel a little bit of guilt, but, like,
Most of the time, it's
most of
injuries,
the
right?
exactly, most of the time it's injury. Like, I just the risk that people take on both sides, the risk that the rider takes on the bike and the risk that everybody in support roles takes because, yeah, when the riders and the bikes aren't on the track, the money dries up so fast. And, like, yes, we are growing. We are growing. We see the numbers. I'm excited. We can attribute that to
It's a
Jet,
small
Diggin,
step, but
whatever.
we're making, like I said, strides towards the right
Mhm.
direction.
Yep. I mean, I could go on a whole diatribe about where I think like we could be growing and things like that, but I think a big part of it and where I want you to gab about yourself is starting in her lane. We're going to talk about the girlies and I think we are such an untapped demo. And we talked about this a little bit on the first episode. The women who love moto, especially like my generation, this gen, millennials, whatever you want to call us, end of Gen X, beginning of Gen Z, like we have grown up watching moto. We have grown up watching these pros. We have grown up watching the eras of, the Ryans all the way through now. Like, and we are the ones that are raising our kids to either race or not. We are the ones that are paying to come to the races. We are the ones, buying the merch. And so I don't understand how it took you guys, me, the other one, this long to figure out like the women need a voice. So like what was the conversation? We talked a little bit about it, but what was the conversation like in seeing that gap in the market for you and Hannah to be like, we're gonna do this, like we're gonna tell these stories, and like, why would someone listen to In Her Lane? Give me your pitch.
So as I said before, Hannah approached me, which was so
Mhm.
out of character for her because she's like an introvert and I'm more like, "Hey,
I
hey, hey."
love it.
So, and like we really don't talk that much. I mean, we've known each other for years, but you know, DMing each other, but we both live busy lives.
Mhm.
She's got younger kids. I'm in a different season of my life. but she approached me, which I was really honored that she, came to me. And she just was like, "Look, I think there's an opportunity to grow this sport from a women's standpoint. There's nobody telling their stories." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, like women have a lot to say. We know most of the things going on, and we know what it takes.
Mhm.
But the big part was every one of them has a story that people don't know because they're
Right.
not the ones that the fans are going there for. Now
Mhm.
there is the women who have fans, which I love.
Mhm.
But for my culture in the era I grew up in, that wasn't, no, nobody was
Yeah.
asking me to take a picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I said, so and so does this. I bet you nobody knows that so and so started here. Their story, how they met, was really cute. Blah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I think it would be fun. I just looked at it from my standpoint. And we thought together with me being a little bit older and me working in the industry with the medic rig. So, I have a little bit of work things I do there.
Mhm.
Nathan and his role and all the layers of his jobs he's had. And then with Hannah knows a lot of history about the sport because she grew up her whole life in it. I didn't.
Mhm. Mhm.
She amateur being a sister in that scene, right? Which is hard. I know a lot of people have addressed that. And then her brother being a professional athlete, and then and then her, and
Mhm.
marrying one, and then her husband having a bad injury. We just have all these experience we could draw up. But I think the biggest thing that why we thought people would listen is because of the relationships we have with the women in the industry. So, you know, we lived it. We are them. And so we're not like, that's why I say ours is different from yours because you're a fan base, making light of things and fun.
Mhm.
And we wanted to, the tone we wanted was to be like classy. We can't be biased. Our husbands work in the industry. Not that I wouldn't be anyways. And just like our world needs more positivity and love and complimenting each other and I really wanted to get to know these women more, like I said before in the last pod,
Yeah.
that because there was a big gap that I wasn't in the professional industry of racing for a while because Nathan doing other, and then went into the amateur side. So stepping back into it the last 5 years, I've had to learn how it's changed from my era
Yeah.
and appreciated it and how social media really plays a role in that. And
Mhm.
there's positive and negatives, right? And I
Yeah.
always joke around like, I'm so glad there wasn't social media crashing our parties, you know? And what a lot of people, you know, a lot of these girls date these guys very young, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of, I mean, and in my era, we got married young. Um, and so we grow up together with these men, right? So you'll hear stories, so and so cheated on this, or did all these things. They're learning, they're growing, they're in this limelight, they're in this world, and and what you were 22 isn't the same as 32, 42, 52, right? You're changing together and
Mhm.
and that's why if you have a good friendship and basis, you have to be friends first and laugh, which thankfully me and Nathan were friends first, to be able to get through all those different stages of growing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's hard with social media
Yeah.
and they have a whole nother layer that I didn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, I think for us, we thought we would be respected in the industry in this fan community because of what we bring to the table and the relationships. Um, I mean, and a lot of people we know and that we're getting closer to, and we've lived it.
Yeah.
We know it,
We are them. I love that.
I hope that that gives us credibility
Mhm.
to the fans. Um, we want to empower, and we don't want to focus just on Supercross, Motocross. We
Mhm.
want to do like motorsports. That's why we labeled it Motorsports Community because we actually are going to be sitting down with a NASCAR wife in a couple weeks.
Ooh.
You know,
Teaser.
a Formula One wife.
Yeah.
So, and they've invited us to these things. So I mean, we both work full time, okay, and she's raising her kids, and then I'm going to the races I know we have such a good thing that could be something really great, but it's not our main focus, right?
Mhm.
And we have our editor that's pro bono and he's a fan. And
Mhm.
so um, we really want to revamp it for the coming years to, I think we have something great with our relationships that we really could build a
Mhm.
really big platform for
Mhm.
these women and the racers, the women racers, which
Mhm.
I really didn't know about. They weren't really that big of a thing for me because it was all about the men, right?
Right. Yeah.
Focus on the men, and Lala has given me a whole reason to watch.
She's
Like
freaking incredible.
Kayla,
Oh,
and the thing is, these girls are gorgeous
oh
too.
my
They're not
gosh.
like your tomboy,
They're
you know,
baddies.
respect. Maybe
Whew.
how they might have been back then, but they're beautiful, successful, smart.
Mhm.
They're dating and
Mhm.
they're girl bosses. So we wanted to kind of look at that angle and the
Mhm.
moms. We have
Mhm.
moms that we're going to do, and so I just hope that people enjoy our podcast. I love the fit checks. We have a lot of plans for that
That's
next year.
so fun. I love them.
Different questions, and I mean, we also want to like talk to the fans in the pits, and
Mhm.
this was our first year.
Yeah.
We're just figuring this out. We're two
Yeah.
moms, ex racer wives figuring it out, and look at the community that's already been built, and you're killing it too. And I love how you support us. We support you. I mean, I like you said, there's another one, and they kind of did us dirty on a guest.
Uh-huh.
We had a guest on, and then she had asked us, "I'm supposed to go tomorrow to film with this other pod. Do you want me to wait?" And we're like, because the girls we're like, no, no, thinking we're going to get ours out anyways first, because this particular podcast doesn't edit very fast. And she went, and then less than 24 hours, they dropped her pod. And it was a really good pod.
It was a really good pod. That's what
So
sucked about it. I was like, "Damn."
I was like, "Okay, okay, I see you."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like I said, we support women in the arts, all of it. But when you are trying to portray a podcast as you're a girl's girl, we support women, all these memes like "Go badass chicks," da da da.
Mhm.
That do that. That was
Mhm.
a deliberate knife.
Yeah.
I don't even know them.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of them in my life. I don't know what their credibility is to do that,
Mm-mm.
but, I thought, because I was, like, stoked, like, shoot, if they wanted me on their I mean, I don't know, but then when that happened, it was deliberately, "I'm gonna for you." Even though we had filmed and we were even asked, like, we coulda said, "Yeah, wait a month to film with them." But because we support everybody and we knew they take a while, and we were gonna
Mhm.
get it next week, and then they dropped it less than 24 hours. I was like, "Okay, we s"
Mhm.
um, and
Yeah.
that changed the tone. I know they blocked you. I mean, it
I
you're
don't I got my own blocking from them.
but I mean, you're not you're fake then, right?
Mm.
You're portraying an image, and you're not speaking with actions,
Yeah.
right? Anyways, that's when I kinda said, "My support's gone out the window
Mm.
you know, for that."
Yeah.
And I wish them the best, but yeah, that's that. So, we had a little bit of yeah,
Not fun.
it's Mean Girls stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and like we said, I mean, like, the industry is so small, and, like, I know at least, like, one of them has a kiddo that races amateurs. I'm like, do you not think that it's gonna come back around? Like, I mean, what they did to you guys was shady AF. Like, I had my own interactions with them, but I'm just like, "Yo, the sport is too small to, like, to be mean," you know? Like, so
And I have a
well
big mouth.
Me too, which is why I'm glad I get to edit my own shit because I've gone down some diatribes and I'm like, I gotta roll that back. But
I
yeah,
know
that
people have
that was
asked, and I tell them exactly what happened. I think I
yeah.
even saw one of their, somebody real affiliated with them that films for them or does something. I
Mhm.
mention, "Oh,
Mhm.
you guys are killing it." And I'm like, "Yeah, and we know what you did." And
Oh
I told
god.
everybody, I
I
can
mean,
be I can be I can be savage too, but only when you cross me.
yeah.
Deliberately.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
you make your bed, you gotta lie in it. So
I was like, "Game on."
Yep. We ain't here to play. We
No.
ain't here to play. Well,
Mm-mm.
I wanna ask you all the 3 questions that I ask all of my interview guests.
Okay.
So, we're gonna chat these, and then we're gonna wrap things up because I think I wanna make these all one episode. So we'll see, we'll see. But first one, coming off of that, which is ironic, is what is one thing you wish you could admit to other women more often without guilt?
Ooh. I
Mhm.
think you might have sent me these, but I didn't even look at them.
That's okay, that's even better.
'Cause sometimes I do better. What is
Yeah.
one thing that I could
Mhm.
admit to?
That you wish women you could admit to other women without guilt or judgment. Like, what do you wish we talked about more? What do you wish there was no shame or guilt or judgment around that you just feel like women don't talk about enough? It could be moto, it could be life, it could be motherhood, it could be anything.
Girl,
Mhm.
you stumped me. I talk about everything.
That
I
could be the
really
answer.
do.
Nothing.
I mean, as a women as a whole,
Yeah.
um, I mean, perimenopause, girl.
Go off. Let's talk about that. Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
my mom never talked about it with me, and I
Yeah.
know 20-year-olds listening and 30-year-olds, you guys, it's coming,
No,
and
it's for sure
it
coming.
it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Every single woman on this earth will go through menopause.
Mhm. Mhm.
I started finding out and, I remember when they stopped giving hormone replacement therapy, it wasn't approved by insurance anymore, but testosterone was.
Mhm.
Now, not
Mhm.
every man has low testosterone,
Yep.
but you cannot avoid menopause.
Yep.
So I, obviously going through it, have really dug in and I want to be able to give that knowledge to my daughter
Yeah.
because I don't ever remember my mom talking about it
No.
at all. I
Mm-mm.
mean, I just thought, oh, it's hot flashes. No, no,
Mhm.
no. Like 36 symptoms, girls. Okay.
Mhm. But there's no research around it. There was never any research around it until the last, like, 5
Mm-mm.
years. It wasn't being funded. I mean,
Yeah.
I could die on that hill.
I've got chapped lips. Hold on. Um, but I think just because that's where I'm at in my life,
Yeah.
I appreciate now there with social media, more people are talking about it.
Yeah.
And now a lot of us, like at my work and friends, we're really comfortable now
Yeah.
talking about our symptoms and what did you do or female things, that happen.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just to make it the norm, like
Yeah.
we're all going to go through this. Let's do it
Mhm.
together. Let's tell each other's what worked. I do peptides, and I feel like that helps a lot. I've had a pretty good ride so far, but
Yeah.
I guess that, I
Yeah.
mean, other than that, I'm a pretty at open book.
Mhm.
Um, and I try to get that out of people,
Yeah. No, I love it.
'cause I'm a
You
yapper.
and you definitely do on the pod, so here's another plug, go listen in her lane because you guys you and Hannah are such a fun balance, like, after the first couple episodes, I was like, "Okay, this is good." Like, you guys have, like, a really good dynamic too, so I think you guys, like, really,
I
like
think we're so different, like I said.
yeah.
She's more of a introvert, but she's very, like, straight to the point.
Mhm.
So, I would think, I mean, people have said they might have thought I was a bitch at first, just I don't know why. No, but I mean, I've had that my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am one of the nicest people. I love everybody. I'm all about positive reinforcement. I'm a girl's girl, right?
Mhm.
I compliment. I try to always tell myself I'm going to give a compliment a day to a random person. So
Yeah.
like
I
I'm at
love
the
that.
hospital, I'm just walking around to the coffee shop, like I'll see somebody and I'll be like, "Oh my god, I love your hair today."
Yeah.
Or I'm always going to my way to help. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like my girlfriend told me one time, she's like, "Girl, you can talk to anybody. Up the elevator for and now this guy's going to Italy. He's got his
Whole life
dick in
story.
his hand, his flight was delayed. I think people are interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody got something. And it's true, you never know what somebody's going through, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we are a good balance because she's very, like I said, straight to the point, not a lot of emotion, and but she's really good at like thinking of the history of the
Mhm.
sport, and she can
Mhm.
rattle off things, and I'll be like, "Damn, I'm so glad because I didn't know that."
Yeah.
Yeah, me,
She's had
I'm
a
the
few that I
yapper,
was like,
and I say too much.
mhm.
Don't know when to shut up, or I mean, you don't get all of me on there.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it is a good balance for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That's hard. That there I mean, there are plenty of we talked about this, plenty of Moto Bro podcasts that bring absolutely nothing to the table. I mean, there's some with like 5 different hosts, and I'm just like, I love this sport, and I cannot even listen to
It
you. This is so
you
boring.
know, it's hard. At first I was like, "How's that dynamic gonna work with 2 people?"
Yeah.
And it's funny because we are like I try to listen now to constructively criticize us, and I'm
Mhm.
like I had said before, like, it's hard not to talk over each other, but I'm like, "Is that gonna be a problem?" And somebody said, "Are you worried about competition between you and Hannah? Like, who's doing this?" And I was like, like, who sits by the guest? Who doesn't?" I'm like, "Honestly,
No.
no." But Hannah's like, "Here, you go do it." You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I love
Yeah.
her.
You gotta be
She's
secure in yourself to do that. I mean, just to get in front of a camera, period, let alone to get in front of a camera about a sport that's all about men, like, you've gotta have thick skin, you've gotta be confident,
and
you've
I
gotta
don't
be
claim I know half of everything, you
Mhm.
know, at
Yeah.
all.
Oh, same.
I just know what I've seen and experienced, and
Yeah.
that's the only place I can come from.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Someone came at me one time early on when I launched last year and, like, came at me about bike stuff, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 I have never said I know shit about how the
Yeah.
bike works." Like, chill.
I know there's suspension and a clutch, that's about it. It's funny though, I will I don't know if I told you this before, but when Nathan's in the tower at the Supercross races and I'm home, I'll
Mhm.
text things I see on the track.
Oh, do you really? I love that.
I just started doing this year, but I mean, by no means, like I said, I didn't ride or grow up, but you
Yeah.
could look at somebody like Jeannie Carmichael, right? Who is one of the an amazing coach.
Yeah.
Did it to Ricky. I know how you're supposed to sit, how it turns.
Mhm.
I watched it forever.
Yeah.
I still watch it all the time.
Yep.
I I'm like, they're too forward or this is faster. Why are they're not aggressive? Like they're not smooth in the corner. So I'll like give them like tips.
I love that.
And I'm like, I should totally take our messages and make a song out of it. Like
No,
those
you
people who do,
should. I love that.
he's not sitting in the turn.
Do it. I'm gonna hold you to oh my gosh, we have to make this
Wait,
happen, like,
and one thing about
uh,
me, which you kind of see on the fit checks because they're a little bit less stressful, because it's
yeah.
like I always sing stuff, words and phrases remind me of songs. So I'm
Yeah.
always, like,
I love that.
And so, but yeah,
Mhm.
so I was thinking about doing that, like with my
Do it.
messages to him, like, this rut is really deep.
Oh my gosh, I'm so here
Everyone's
for it.
doing like I saw a
Yeah.
lady do a baking one the other day of all her recipes. You gotta put the flour in and shake it
I
all
love it. I love
around.
the Deja ones, like, all the dating stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
"Oh, they're so good." Oh my gosh. Anyhow, we could go on and on about
Right.
all the ideas, but I wanna ask you a second question because this one,
Gosh.
this has got some interesting questions or it's some interesting
Okay.
answers to this one. So, okay, you have $1,000 to spend. Nobody gets an opinion. Nate doesn't get an opinion. Your kids don't get an opinion. And you can't be smart with it. You can't pay bills. You can't save it. You can't invest it. You got to spend it right now. What are you spending it on?
A plane ticket to go see Tatum.
I love that. Spoken like
Mhm.
a true mama
I
bear.
love New York.
Yeah.
I actually thought about flying out there this weekend because I'm off for
Yeah.
another 3.5 weeks for my surgery.
Mhm.
But she's coming out in 2 weeks for a wedding. So I'm like, that tickets are too expensive. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna um and she
I know.
moved into a really new great apartment
Oh,
in the water and I
so
just kinda
cute.
she's having a housewarming this weekend. So I wanted to go.
Wow.
But I would do that.
Yeah.
We'd go and if I had money left over, we would go eat at a really nice
Oh,
restaurant.
I love it. New York has the best food. Oh gosh, it's the best.
It's just the culture out there, the different cultures and dynamics is so
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just yeah. The
Could
older
not
you
be
get,
more fun.
for me, I really, really appreciate different cultures,
Yeah.
and everybody has their way that they live life, their
Mhm.
traditions, they raise kids, the way they do everything, and I'm here for it.
Mhm.
I love and I think you don't really appreciate that. I didn't in my 20s, and I didn't really in my 30s. And I remember taking a culture class in nursing school, and I'm like, "Okay." But it was all about how healthcare is different for every culture. You
Yeah.
cannot treat a Jehovah Witness, right? They will not accept blood products or
Yeah.
have this belief, with donors donating a family member's organ.
Yeah.
There's all kinds. You have to learn, and I think that's why I appreciate it because I am submersed around all different kinds of culture in my job.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
love
New
that.
York is that for me, and I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah. I love it too. I was there last year and I was just like, "Oh, it's the best. This is the
Well,
best."
and then I believe and 27 will be, the New Jersey race because they always flip.
Mhm.
I mean, it hasn't been released, but usually it's
Mhm.
and then it rotates to and I think it's due to scheduling of some events that they have.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this year what FIFA threw everything off. That soccer thing threw everything off.
But
I
it's
lived
been
in
like that, though, for a while.
well,
Ever
I think
since I
they would have gone
Nash
this year, but I think FIFA
Oh,
messed up.
really? So,
Yeah.
I hope they make it every year because they usually do it, Philadelphia, then, the New York it's the New York Giants Stadium, right?
Yeah, MetLife?
MetLife.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We went last year to Philly. I didn't work either of them. I went strictly as Nathan's wife and
Mhm.
just Tatum. And then Tatum met us in Philly with her boyfriend. And then we took the train on Sunday, like the Amtrak train, all the way to Grand Central Station. It was
Oh,
so cool with
so
the four of us, me, Nathan, and Tatum and her boyfriend riding that because we're facing each other in a cart and we don't have to worry. And we're
yeah,
just, it was so chill. It was so fun. And then we got to stay the week in New York City, and then a bunch of her new friends in New York, and everybody came to the race and we got to show them.
I
I
love
love
it.
to show people this side of the sport.
Yeah,
I think once you watch it once, you get hooked.
yeah.
Like I was watching like a car race. I wasn't watching it; just popped on. I
Mhm.
didn't know if it was like it wasn't a NASCAR or a subdivision of that, and I'm just like, it's so boring compared to Supercross
Mhm.
and Moto.
Mhm.
I mean,
It's true.
Supercross is my favorite, Motocross is different,
Yeah.
but still, like, Supercross is so tight, such a small track time. It's
Mhm.
constant, right?
Mhm.
And they're so close. We're just
Yeah.
even watching Paula this weekend. I was home. It was boring.
Mhm. There were some parts where I was like, "This is a snore."
I'm like, I'm bored. Oh, yeah, we were
Mhm.
messaging, and
Mhm.
I'm like, it's so different from
Yeah.
the vibe you get at Supercrosses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no dirt, and you can dress cute. So, that's why
Yeah,
I like
that too. I took my best friend, she's the only person I've ever taken to a race, that doesn't know moto, and it was Houston, so it was freezing. You know, it was like 28 degrees and blowing wind in Houston. And I did my homework. Like, I showed her all of my favorite guys. Like, I showed her Kenny and I showed her Eli. Like, I'm like, look at these hot men, so you can appreciate it from that perspective. But she loved it. Like, I think she was just tired of hearing about it from me because I was like, it's like my entire personality and she doesn't understand it. But she loved it. And I was like, how could you not love it? And you went to like one of the worst rounds on the whole circuit, you know? Like, I can't even imagine like bringing you to Nashville, which I don't know. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need a big girls trip to Nashville and be like, oh, and we're going to make a stop at this, the stadium over here, which Nashville's going to be so much better when they get that new stadium. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But
Are they building it close to the other
ah,
one?
it's literally right next door. You can't even go down the other side of the stadium because it's right there. So anyhow, that was for free. I think Nashville should be the finale.
I
I
do too.
think, it was so freaking fun. So
Can you imagine, like, everybody out on Broadway at the end instead
yes,
of, "Oh my god, next weekend, I gotta catch my flight the next day." And I mean, like I said, I'm used to people wanting to go out after. It's not
yeah,
quite like that,
yeah,
sometimes, but
mhm,
I my whole thing is like, "What are we doing after?"
mhm,
That's what I'm used to, and
yeah,
I different, but that I love when people can let loose,
mhm,
see, like, other riders together out, and it's
yep,
just friends, it doesn't matter what
mhm,
happened on the track. That's my favorite,
yeah,
like, time
yeah,
is when we had things
yeah.
outside of
I'm
racing.
missing out. And if it's the finale, it's like it's the end, you know? So, like, bring it back. Come on. Like,
Yeah, and we
goodness.
need a banquet too.
Yes, and I'm
At
so
the
with that.
I mean, there's so many event spaces you could have a banquet there in Nashville,
Yeah, it'd be so fun. Oh, goodness. Okay, last question.
Okay.
2 truths and a lie. If you need to take a second, we can work through it and we can edit it out. Edit
Two
out all the
truths
chatter.
and a lie.
Yeah. We didn't really talk a whole lot about Alpine Stars, like the medic rig, which,
Now.
HIPAA, but if you wanna include one one HIPAA approved something from there.
Oh, I'm not going there. I'm gonna include myself to get
Yeah,
to
don't get yourself
conversation.
in trouble.
Um, okay, 2 truths and a lie.
Mhm. And then we'll cut, and then you can
I
tell me which one the
wanted,
lie is.
um okay, I got it.
'Kay.
I wanted to be a teacher.
'Kay.
I was on the Wonder Years,
'Kay.
and I owned a Ferrari at one point.
Okay. So I'm gonna need to know the answer when we stop recording. So don't say anything now.
Oh, we don't say the answer?
No, I want everybody to comment on. We're gonna make this a reel, and I want
Oh,
everybody to
okay.
comment on it. So don't say it while we're recording. But Monica, this has been so freaking fun. If you have not gotten the memo, I'm a big fan of Monica Ramsey. I'm a big fan of her husband. I'm a big fan of Hannah Morris. I'm a big fan of In Her Lane. So if you are not following all of those humans right now, what the hell are you doing? For one thing. And if you see Monica and Hannah at the races, if you're lucky enough to see them, if you're watching them do their fit checks, like please go say hi because
Yes.
I
Well,
was
like I
just
said, next year we're gonna do some fan interaction and
yeah,
question. So
I
that's
love
our
it,
because we
especially
wanna
if you're a girl.
know, everybody, and we try to interact as much as possible. Like, we try to look at every single comment,
Yeah,
and reply to every single person. So,
yeah, heck yeah, loved it. Well, we
thank you
have
for
got
having me. I hope I wasn't
yes.
boring. I
Get
probably
out of
said
here.
no a bunch of times, and
Mm-mm.
who
No,
knows,
no,
scattered, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was
it was so
fun
fun. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a follow up,
to do
especially
like
if
a catch up,
yeah,
push us
especially
along.
as things are rolling out with what next year looks like for Nate. We'll just say that. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We can, we for sure can touch like a 30-minute catch up or
yes,
something quick,
yes, yes, you can't get
I'm
away
sure
from
you'll
me.
get sick of hearing me and on our pod. I
No, we
hate
need more of them.
listening to myself talk. Like,
No,
I know
me
everybody says that, but I just truly, we're our own worst critics. And I wish
mm-mm,
that it got better the older you get, but
it doesn't.
just looking, I just this morning woke up and my eye looked droopy and I'm like, well, it's time to get this thing back. I mean, it doesn't
Back
get
it
any
up.
better. It doesn't get any better. I know I didn't really get to touch on my kids that much too, which I feel bad. So maybe we can do that. But
Mhm.
really, I
Yeah,
want it to be about me and
yeah,
let them have something
yeah,
about me because
yeah.
they know I love them. And
Where's he get
my,
Tatum on? And, like, what's it like being raised in the sport and, like, watching her dad still be in it and watching her mom
yeah,
kill it in the media?
she would be good because Tyson was a little bit younger
Yeah,
when Nathan stopped. So she was I think she was till she was 10.
yeah.
So yeah,
She's
that'd
got
be
some
interesting.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
so fun. I'm excited. I'm excited for this to come out, so
Hey guys.
heck yeah. We'll catch you guys soon. Bye.